Today we're reviewing the XS20. We're actually at a Pictureline event. We're at Tunnel Springs here in Utah. It's a kind of photo walk sort of thing, and we're gonna take some photos and some video. I've actually been shooting with the XS20 for a couple of weeks now. I kind of always thought that the Fujifilm cameras were like toys or fashion statements, you know, but I've been using this guy and I kind of feel like I was wrong about that. I'm gonna test out probably a couple different lenses, and then I'll probably toss it back to me in the studio a couple days from now. Let's go. Shooting with the XS20 was an absolute blast. It was so much fun, I really didn't end up addressing the camera anymore after that. So if anything, that could be the entire review right there. I just have so much fun shooting with the XS20. But we are gonna go kind of point by point, some things I loved about it, and maybe some areas where you might wanna consider something else if you're looking for another camera. But first, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more photography and video related content. All of today's photo and video content was shot on Delkin black cards. They're awesome, they're fast, they are reliable, they come in SD, CFast Express Type A and Type B. They're great, check them out. The Fujifilm X-S20 sports a 26 megapixel APS-C sensor. It is capable of shooting 30 frames a second, as well as 6K internally and 4K 60p as well. Features a mic input as well as headphone output. So first, let's talk about the things that I really liked about this camera. The biggest thing has to be the film simulations. I'd always wanted to try them. I was like, oh, that seems neat. That seems quaint. What I didn't realize was just how good they are. I found myself ditching shooting in log on this camera in favor of the Eterna film simulation. Not because the log was bad or unusable or anything like that. It just, the official Fujifilm LUT they give you for their log footage is the Eterna film simulation. So I just decided to start there and call it good. Now I'm sure somebody makes LUT packs or whatever specifically for F-Log, but I really love that Eterna film simulation. I found it very beautiful, very good, and a very good blank slate for color grading. I also became fairly partial to the Acros with red filter, both for photos and most of the time with the video stuff, I didn't even grade it. I just loved how it looked straight out of the camera. At high ISO in both photo and video, the noise really looks like film grain, to the point where you can use that if you're trying to go for a specific look. And to me, that's the big thing about the Fujifilm experience on the XS20, is that it's a camera designed to simulate shooting on film. And I think it does that extremely well. I've also become a big fan of shooting open gate. This shoots open gate 6K, which makes it, one, perfect for cropping. If you're using one camera and punching in and out, you've got lots of latitude to make great content and still keep that resolution high. And it's also great for producing vertical content. As a filmmaker and a photographer, I just instinctively frame things a certain way, regardless of the aspect ratio. And so by giving that extra height, I end up framing things a little bit differently, and it often makes it a lot easier to create that vertical content later, because I'm not cropping off the sides and then realizing that, like, you know, my entire face is taken up or something like that. It gives me just a lot of latitude, both up and down, left and right, to crop and do as I need to. I also found the whole system surprisingly easy to use as a total newbie. I have to, as part of this job, pick up lots of cameras that are brand new. I do kind of wish there were more buttons and options and stuff like that, but I found myself pretty easily navigating the menu system, and once I kind of got everything figured out, shooting became a breeze. And one more thing I want to bring up that I really, really love that this thing has: pop-up flash. Honestly, having one is such a lifesaver to me. Like, obviously, I prefer studio strobes and things like that, but sometimes that's not something you have around, and this little tiny guy can really come in handy in those times. Especially if you're someone who's new to photography, don't discount one of these old pop-up flashes. They might actually be really, really fun to use. Battery life seemed okay. I was shooting for about 2 hours yesterday, all this footage and things that you're seeing, both photo, video, 6K, 4K 60, all that, and never actually ran out. The event ended before I ran out of battery, but I was pretty low, so you can probably expect roughly 2 hours of performance out of it. After a while of shooting a lot of 4K 60, I was getting an overheating warning. It never shut down on me, but it definitely got quite hot. If you're gonna do a lot of video, I would highly recommend getting the optional fan attachment accessory. Now I wanna talk a little bit about the build quality of the lenses. So I used 3 different lenses, 2 of which I used at the event, 1 of which I used a lot for some video tests, some other projects. My favorite of so far of the 3 of them was the 18-55. It's a 2.8-4, so it's not like a constant aperture. It definitely looks really, really good. It's very, very high quality. I love the feel of it. That's something that I've noticed a lot with these Fuji lenses is that though they're small and though they're APS-C, they put a lot of love and a lot of thought into making sure that these lenses look good, feel good, and create incredible images. By and large, they've all been sharp. Bokeh has been solid all the way around. I would say the power zoom lenses that I used, both the 15-45 and the 18-120, I didn't love how they were implemented, especially on the 15-45. Trying to get an exact focal length was kind of hard, and it's all by wire, and so it really, I hate focus by wire and I hate zoom by wire unless you have the old-fashioned like video rockers. But on the 18-120, it was definitely better implemented. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of power zooms on these kinds of small cameras. So now let's talk autofocus. And I would say this is an area where I felt like the X-S20 wasn't great in, at least compared to the competition. As it is, it works fine. We were shooting portraits and things like that yesterday. It worked really, really well there. Video, it does tend to struggle and hunt a little bit, depending on how many people are there. If you're kind of focusing on one person, it tracks them beautifully. And there isn't a dedicated autofocus, manual focus button on here, which goes back to my previous statement. I wish there were more buttons. These are customizable though. So if you are someone who uses that a lot, you would be able to customize all that stuff. But just bear that in mind, like if you're gonna get it and you wanna be able to turn on and off autofocus at a whim, especially for video, you're gonna have to assign that. In vlog mode, we did see some issues with hunting when we engaged the product showcase. You're gonna see that here. And we found that the best result was actually just to put it on face detect autofocus. And anytime you put something in there and you covered your face, it would just focus on that kind of instinctively. And it would do it a lot better. So that's kind of what I would recommend there. I would also say in photo, again, it does well, but maybe not as fast as some people might need. Like I said, portraits, not necessarily, I don't even want to say not fast moving targets. It's more like the more confusion and the more stuff that gets in the way, that's where it can kind of have a problem. So who is this camera for? You know, a month ago, I probably would have said, oh, this is for hipsters who want something cool and vintage to take with them to Paris while they twirl their mustache and take a picture of the Eiffel Tower. And it's not for them, it's also for professionals. The shooting experience, the quality of the images is truly remarkable. You know, I would say if you are, say, a sports or a news photographer where you've got, you know, absolutely 1 second to get the shot, maybe this isn't for you. But I feel like if you're somebody who can take those extra few seconds to think about your scene, to maybe switch to a different film stock simulation, you're going to have a lot of fun with this camera. I know there's a lot of professionals who might shoot one thing in the studio and then they take a Fuji home and take that with them on vacation and take pictures of the kids with that. I think a lot of filmmakers would be pleasantly surprised using something like this if they've never used it before. It has raw output capability. That open gate shooting is really, really incredible and powerful. This provides just more resolution, more quality that you can extract from it. And so while it doesn't seem like maybe like a workhorse sort of camera, it does feel like a creative tool. And I think that's what I loved. I felt like my creativity was kind of going in different directions. But what do you think? Are you a Fujifilm shooter? Are you looking for a second camera? Are you somebody that shoots full frame and you want to tell us that APS-C is the worst format because dynamic range and exposure and all that? Whatever it is, let us know. We'd love to hear it. And if you want to pick up the X-S20 at Pictureline.com, follow the link in the description. And remember guys, don't forget to take your camera out today. See you later.